the morning after the judge said the words, "Final decree." I woke up to a silence that felt too clean to be real, like the air in my bedroom had been scrubbed with bleach. No more mediation calendar alerts, no more 6 a.m. lawyer emails, no more waiting for my phone to light up with another demand, another threat, another friendly reminder from a man who couldn't stand losing control. I stood at the bathroom sink in my townhouse outside Seattle and watched myself in the mirror. The same face, the same eyes, but different weight behind them, because the divorce was done. And yet my stomach didn't unclench. It tightened, like my body already knew the paperwork wasn't the end. It was the opening bell. My name is Hannah Pierce. I'm 37. I work in compliance for a regional bank. Risk, audit, the unglamorous part of finance that lives and dies by documentation. I'm the person people pretend not to be afraid of, until their story doesn't match their statements. And my ex-husband, Caleb Pierce, was a storyteller. Not the kind that reads bedtime books, the kind that looks you in the eye, says trust me, and then moves numbers in the dark. We were married 11 years. The first half felt like a partnership. The second half felt like a slow leak. Business dinners, temporary cash flow problems, and a man who kept saying, "Just one more week, I can fix it." By the time the marriage finally broke, I thought the worst thing Caleb could do was take my peace. I was wrong. He wanted to take my future. He tried the next morning. When he arrived at my house with his entire family in a moving truck. Not a conversation, not closure. A moving truck. Like he expected the street to clap for him while he carried my life out in boxes. 3 cars lined up along the curb. Caleb stepped out first, jacket crisp, smile practiced. His mother Linda followed with pearls and entitlement. His sister Mallory held her phone up like she was filming a reality show. An uncle and cousins carried empty boxes like props. Caleb walked up my driveway with a manila envelope under his arm, like the ending had already been written. The doorbell rang, twice, impatient. I opened the door, stepped onto the porch, and closed it behind me with the soft click of the lock. "Morning," Caleb said, bright as a salesman. "We're here to pick up the house." Linda didn't wait. "Let's not make this difficult, Hannah." I kept my voice calm. "You're not coming in." Caleb laughed like I'd made a joke. "Come on, the settlement's clear." I nodded at the envelope. "Call your attorney. Put him on speaker." He hated being challenged in public. That's why he did it, because pride is an addiction too. He called, speaker on. "Marshall and Boyd," a young man answered. "This is Evan." Caleb straightened. "Evan, we're at the house. Hannah's refusing to vacate." A pause. Administrative, not dramatic. "Caleb," Evan said slowly, "why are you at the property?" Caleb frowned. "Because it's mine." "Did you receive the revised settlement memo I sent?" Evan asked. Linda leaned toward the phone. "Tell him we're taking possession." Another pause. "No," Evan said. "You're not." Caleb's smile died. "What do you mean?" "The transfer was never completed," Evan replied. "And given the ownership structure, you're not authorized to attempt entry." Ownership structure. Linda's jaw tightened. "What structure?" Evan's tone cooled. "Ma'am, privileged call." Caleb swallowed, and I saw it. Panic trying to hide behind pride. Evan added, quieter now, "You need to leave. Call me privately." The line went dead. Caleb lowered the phone like it had betrayed him. "What did you do?" he demanded. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. "Nothing," I said. "I just read what I signed." Linda stepped forward. "This is fraud." No, I said calmly. This is preparation. Caleb's voice dropped. The house was bought during the marriage. Yes, I said, and then refinanced. His eyes flickered, because he remembered the refinance. 2 years earlier, he'd insisted we lock in a better rate. He'd handled the calls, pointed to signature lines, kept talking so I wouldn't slow him down with questions. I'd been exhausted, trusting, busy. But I had questions. And when I have questions, I document. Before I filed for divorce, I met with an estate attorney and created a living trust. Clean, disclosed, not hidden, a structure designed for stability and protection. Caleb signed it twice, because Caleb never read what didn't entertain him. On my porch, I took out my phone and dialed 911. The parade retreated in a scramble of humiliation. As Caleb climbed into his car, he leaned out the window, voice sharp. This isn't over. I nodded once. I know. Then I closed the door, locked it, and the quiet that followed felt like the first honest thing I'd had in a long time. At 9:07 a.m., Monday, the legal and financial anchor hit, the first real punch. A lender's number flashed on my phone. Ms. Pierce? A man asked. This is Daniel Reyes with North Sound Lending Risk and Compliance. We need to verify information related to a refinance transaction from 2024. My throat tightened. Verify what? We're reviewing the disposition of cash-out proceeds, Reyes said. We've attempted to reach Mr. Pierce. He has not responded. Cash-out proceeds. Those words can burn a life down if your name is on the documents. I steadied my breath. You can speak to my attorney, I said. Understood, Reyes replied. I ended the call, and I knew. Caleb hadn't come with a moving truck because he loved that house. He came because the house was the only clean thing left, and he wanted to hide behind it. I hired Marissa Chen that afternoon. She was early 40s, sharp and quiet. The kind of attorney who didn't perform confidence. She carried it like it was normal. Her office downtown had glass walls and the kind of silence that makes people confess. Marissa placed the refinance statement in front of me and tapped a highlighted line. Cash out proceeds. $172,400. I stared at it, heartbeat slow and heavy. He told me it was just a rate adjustment, I whispered. Marissa nodded once. He took equity. Where did it go? I asked. Marissa didn't answer immediately. Then she said, if he can't keep it buried, he'll try to make you share it. Within days, the escalation began. Small, strategic cuts designed to exhaust me. By Wednesday, the smear campaign had grown legs. A co-worker I barely knew stopped me by the coffee machine and said, too casually, Hey, are you okay? I saw something online. Her eyes flicked away like she didn't want to be caught caring. That's how gossip spreads in professional spaces. Through people who think they're being kind while they're collecting details. I smiled like nothing hurt. I'm fine, I said. Legal dispute. Handled? But inside, my mind was already running risk scenarios. Because in compliance, perception can be as dangerous as reality. If your name becomes a question mark, people start treating you like a liability. That afternoon, HR called again, this time with corporate counsel on video. Their tone was careful, rehearsed. Ms. Pierce, counsel said, we received a verification request connected to a mortgage refinance. We need to confirm whether there's any conflict with your role. I didn't over-explain. Over-explaining sounds like fear. Fear sounds like guilt. Guilt invites scrutiny. I signed documents under the belief the refinance was a rate adjustment, I said calmly. I did not authorize any use of proceeds beyond the mortgage transaction. My attorney is cooperating with the lender. Counsel nodded slowly. We'll route inquiries through legal. Please provide your attorney's contact information. When I ended the call, my phone buzzed again. 3 texts from unknown numbers within a minute. You can't hide forever. Give him the house. He'll make you pay. I didn't reply. I screenshotted everything, forwarded it to Marissa, and put the phone face down like it was a live wire. On Friday, the lender sent a formal letter, polite, corporate, terrifying. It listed the refinance loan number, the date, and a request for clarification regarding third-party transfers associated with cash-out proceeds. Marissa read it and said, "They're building a file. Good. A file means procedure. Procedure means we can control our lane." "But my name is on the loan," I said, voice tight. "And our narrative is clean," she replied. "We keep it that way. No private conversations, no emotional replies, only documents." That weekend, Caleb's attorney tried a different tactic. A friendly email offering a meeting. Off the record, just to clear up misunderstandings. Marissa laughed when she read it. Not loud, just a breath of disbelief. "They want you in a room without a transcript," she said. "They want you to react. We don't react." Then she did something I didn't expect. She sent a single short email back. All communication through counsel. Please preserve all electronic records. It was a warning wrapped in professionalism, and it made Caleb do what guilty people always do when they feel a net tightening. He started moving. On Monday, Priya called Marissa with urgency. "Northbridge Solutions just attempted to close an account," she said. "Transfer out initiated." Marissa's eyes flicked to mine. "We file a preservation motion," she said. Within hours, we were back in court seeking an order to preserve assets and prevent spoliation of evidence. Caleb's attorney argued it was premature. The judge, already annoyed by Caleb's emergency motion, granted a limited preservation order. Not dramatic, but enough to make the message clear. Stop destroying your trail. A courier delivered a thick binder to my doorstep, labeled Discovery Requests. It was pages and pages of demands, bank statements, pay stubs, personal emails, any documents related to financial planning, like they were trying to turn my entire life into a fishing pond. Marissa read it, marked it up, and said, "This is harassment dressed as procedure." "Can they do that?" I asked. "They can try," she replied, "and we can object. The goal is to make you feel like cooperation equals surrender. It doesn't. It equals control." Rumors reached my workplace. HR and internal compliance called me in because a lender requested employment verification and an anonymous email alleged fraud. I stayed calm, gave Marissa's contact, and kept everything routed through counsel. That night, Marissa called. "I have a transfer record," she said. "The proceeds went to an entity called Northbridge Solutions." "It sounds normal," I said. "It's not," she replied. "It's a shell linked to a processor used by unlicensed online wagering." The room went cold. Gambling. Caleb's whispered sentence at midnight suddenly made sense. Just one more week. I can fix it. 2 days later, Caleb filed an emergency motion accusing me of fraud and demanding immediate possession. The hearing landed fast, and he walked in polished, confident, like volume could still win. Marissa didn't raise her voice. She opened a binder and laid out the executed trust documents, notarized, recorded, signed by Caleb twice. Then she asked the question that changed the room. "Mr. Pierce, she said evenly. Did you take a cash out of $172,000 during the refinance? Caleb froze. The judge overruled the objection. Caleb admitted it. And where did it go? Marissa asked. Business expenses, Caleb said. Which business? The judge asked. Silence. Marissa slid lender correspondence forward. The transfer was flagged by risk and compliance, she said. The funds were routed to an unlicensed processor. Caleb's confidence cracked. Motion denied, the judge said. Then worse. Full refinancing disclosures and bank statements will be produced. If there is evidence of misrepresentation, this court will refer the matter accordingly. Referral. That word changes the game. Outside the courthouse, Reyes called again. We need to clarify Ms. Pierce's knowledge and consent. Mr. Pierce is not responding. Marissa took it. All communication through counsel, she said. Caleb showed up at my driveway at dusk 2 nights later. Alone, no family, no boxes, no audience. Hannah, he said softly, the bank's calling. They're calling your job. I know, I said. I can fix it, he whispered. If you sign a simple agreement, release the house, stop pursuing claims, I'll protect you. Protected from the consequences of what he'd done. I let out a small laugh. You want my house so you can hide behind it. His softness drained. If you don't sign, he said low, you'll get pulled into this. There it was. The real purpose. Leverage. I felt something settle. A quiet click. Because fear needs uncertainty, and now I was certain. If I go down, I said softly, I'm taking you with me. He went pale. I have every document, I continued, every signature, every email, every transfer. He backed away like he'd touched a wire. Before he turned, he whispered, Fine, then I'll let my mom handle you. At 7:06 a.m. the next morning, Linda called from an unknown number. You selfish little girl, she hissed. Do you know what you've done? I let her talk, then said gently, This call is being recorded. Silence. Then she kept going anyway, because people like Linda don't know how to stop once they've started. I have friends, she said, voice syrupy. I can make your life uncomfortable. Thank you, I said, for putting that on record. I hung up. Marissa filed for a protective order that afternoon and forwarded the recording to Reyes. Because intimidation tied to financial misconduct is a pattern. After the protective order was filed, the court scheduled a brief hearing to formalize it. Linda arrived in a camel coat and outrage, acting like the victim of my overreaction. Her attorney tried to frame it as a misunderstanding, family frustration, emotion after divorce. Marissa played the recording. The courtroom went quiet in the way it does when someone hears themselves on record. I watched Linda's face as her own voice hissed threats into the air. She didn't look ashamed. She looked angry that consequences existed. The judge granted the order. Stay away distance. No third-party contact. No harassment. Linda left with her chin lifted, but her eyes were different. Not fearless, cornered. And cornered people either comply or escalate. Linda chose escalation, just more careful this time. She didn't call me again. She had other people do it. A family friend sent me a message about forgiveness. An unknown number asked if I wanted to keep my job. A stranger showed up at my office lobby asking for me by name and left when security questioned him. Each incident alone could be brushed off. Together, it became a pattern. Marissa sent the pattern to Reyes. Reyes didn't say much, but his tone changed when he spoke. Intimidation around a flagged transaction is significant, he said. It suggests awareness of wrongdoing. Awareness. That was the word that mattered. Because banks don't just investigate transactions. They investigate intent. And Caleb's family was accidentally proving it for us. Caleb escalated again. Not with truth, with noise. A civil complaint for defamation. A flood of discovery requests. Motions to block subpoenas. Anything to drain me. Marisa did the opposite. She built a clean timeline. Then she brought in Priya Nandakumar, a forensic accountant who treated numbers like fingerprints. Priya mapped the proceeds. Equity extraction, transfers into shells, conversions. Layered movement through accounts designed to blur the trail. She found multiple entities, a Nevada LLC, a Delaware company, a Florida mailbox address, each with polite names and empty substance. She also found a promissory note, supposed debt that reduced Caleb's net worth on paper. It's fabricated, Priya said, a fake loan to a controlled entity. Priya didn't just look at what Caleb spent. She looked at what he hid in plain sight. She requested copies of our joint tax returns, our loan applications, and the statement of financial position Caleb had filed in the divorce, pages where he'd described himself as cash poor, debt-burdened, limited future earnings. Priya's response was a soft hum that sounded like disbelief. He's not cash poor, she said. He's cash-shaped. What does that mean? I asked. It means the money moved, she replied, but the lifestyle didn't. She pulled out a printout of Caleb's spending pattern. Hotel charges, ride shares at 2 a.m., recurring payments to services with names that didn't match any legitimate vendor. Then she circled one category, payment processors. The processors matter, she said. They're the bridge between I just bet a little and I moved money through a network. Marisa nodded. Subpoenas. Priya nodded back. And depositions. That word made my stomach tighten. Depositions mean sitting in a room while someone tries to turn your life into a weapon. Caleb's attorney scheduled mine first, hoping I'd crack before Caleb had to talk. Marisa prepped me like a surgeon. We answer what we know, she said. We don't guess. We don't fill silence. If they try to provoke you, you pause, breathe, and you let them sit in their own discomfort. On deposition day, Caleb's attorney tried to paint me as a mastermind. She asked the same question 5 ways, trying to get me to contradict myself. Did you authorize the cash out? No. Did you approve the transfer to Northbridge Solutions? No. Did you review the closing package? I signed the package presented to me under the representation it was a rate adjustment, I said. I did not receive disclosure of cash-out proceeds. Are you saying you didn't read what you signed? I met her stare. I'm saying I relied on representations made by my spouse and the loan officer, and I'm cooperating fully now. Marissa's hand rested on the table, a steadying presence. When the attorney pushed harder, Marissa's voice stayed calm. Asked and answered. They tried to make me sound careless, but carelessness isn't a crime. Deception is. Then it was Caleb's turn. His deposition was scheduled 3 days later, and he walked in acting like he still had charm to spend. He smiled at the court reporter. He greeted Marissa like they were colleagues. Marissa didn't smile back. Priya sat quietly, notepad ready. The first hour, Caleb answered with vague confidence. Business expenses, consulting work, private venture. Every sentence was fog. Then Marissa asked him about Northbridge Solutions. Who owns it? She asked. Caleb shrugged. A business partner. Name? Marissa said. Caleb hesitated. I'd have to check. Marissa slid a document across the table. Your email account listed you as the signatory. Your phone number is on the registration. Your IP address accessed the account dashboard. Do you still want to say you don't know who owns it? Caleb's smile thinned. His attorney objected, but the court reporter kept typing. Caleb swallowed. It's complicated. Marissa nodded like she'd expected that. Then she asked the question that made his eyes jump. Mr. Pierce, are you familiar with the term beneficial owner? He blinked. Sure. Then why is Mrs. Pierce's name on the beneficial ownership certification? Marissa asked, and her voice didn't rise. It just sharpened. Caleb froze. Because she signed it, he said quickly. Marissa didn't react. She looked at him like a microscope. Did you watch her sign it? She asked. Caleb's jaw tightened. Yes. Marissa leaned forward slightly. Describe where you were sitting. Caleb's eyes flicked to his attorney. Silence. He started talking too fast. At home, kitchen table, I handed her the page. Marissa's tone stayed gentle. Interesting, she said, because the timestamp shows the signature event occurred at 2:13 p.m. on a Tuesday, while Ms. Pierce's badge was used to enter her office building at 1:58 p.m., and she was on an internal video call at 2:10 p.m. Would you like to revise your answer? Caleb's face flushed. He opened his mouth, then closed it, then said, I don't know what those logs mean. Priya wrote something down without looking up. Caleb's attorney called for a break. When they returned, Caleb's confidence was gone. He answered carefully, like every word could explode, because now he knew. We weren't guessing. We were measuring, and measurements don't care about charm. Reyes told Marissa something that made my blood run cold. Mr. Pierce is not the only one, he said. We're seeing similar patterns tied to other borrowers. Other names, other houses, other spouses who didn't realize their stability had been used like currency. My work received another inquiry, this time from a federal agency asking about my role as co-borrower. Company counsel routed everything through Marissa, and we kept our statements clean. Truth doesn't need decoration. Then Priya found the document that turned the divorce into something else entirely. A beneficial ownership certification inside the refinance package, signed digitally. My name, my signature, except I had never signed it. Did you sign this? Priya asked. No, I said, immediate. Marissa's voice went quiet. Priya? What's the timestamp? During business hours, Priya replied. We can cross-check badge logs. Hannah was at work. This looks like forgery. Forgery is heavier than fraud. It's not just lying. It's stealing you to lie. Marissa filed an emergency motion for sanctions, preservation of devices, and court-supervised discovery. After the forgery discovery, Marissa filed for a temporary restraining order related to financial conduct. No transfers, no closure of accounts, no disposal of devices, no contact with lenders except through counsel. The court granted it quickly, and that quickness told me something. The judge wasn't just irritated anymore. He was concerned. Caleb's attorney tried to spin it as overreach, but Caleb kept making the same mistake. He treated the court like an audience. The court treated him like a risk. Then Priya's deeper tracing started to reveal something uglier than bad bets. It wasn't just a man losing money. It was a man borrowing against a stable asset, converting the proceeds, and feeding it into channels designed to obscure the source. Priya showed us a flow chart, arrows, accounts, dates. The lines didn't look random. They looked patterned, repeated, learned. This is how networks operate, she said. Not just individuals. Individuals don't usually build this level of layering on their first attempt. Marissa asked the question I was afraid to ask. Could he have partners? Priya nodded slowly. Maybe. And if he does, they will pressure him to keep you quiet. Pressure. That word turned into reality when a new letter arrived in my mailbox with no return address. It wasn't overtly threatening. It was almost polite. Stop pushing. Let it settle. You don't want complications. I showed it to Marissa. Marissa didn't flinch. We add it to the record, she said, and we don't change our behavior by 1 inch. Reyes responded the same way. Do not engage, he told Marissa. Document, forward, maintain counsel-only communication. In another universe, I might have felt powerless, like a pawn. But I wasn't a pawn anymore. I was a witness with receipts, and witnesses are dangerous to liars. Caleb's attorney called it harassment. The judge called it necessary. Caleb tried to corner me afterward, voice shaking with rage that sounded like fear. You're going to ruin me, he hissed. I didn't move. You ruined yourself when you used my name like a shield. He leaned in. If you don't stop, people will come after you too. That's when I understood there was a bigger storm behind him. But storms don't scare you as much when you have shelter built from evidence. Then the big twist landed, not like a scream, like a file sliding across a table. Priya uncovered the hidden asset Caleb had actually been protecting. Not the house, not the cash out. Equity in a private startup he'd listed as no value. Priya found the cap table. Caleb's name wasn't on it. Linda's was as trustee of a family trust, holding Caleb's shares for estate planning. Priya's voice was steady. They moved his ownership into his mother's trust right before the divorce filing. The valuation he provided doesn't match a recent funding round. Marissa's tone turned cold. How big? Priya paused. His stake could be worth 6 to 8 million. 6 to 8 million. Caleb had claimed he was broke. Caleb had demanded my home. Caleb had performed desperation, while his family protected a hidden fortune. That twist changed everything, because it proved coordinated concealment. Marissa moved fast. Amended disclosures, contempt motion, asset freeze request, and subpoenas to the company and trust. Marissa didn't let the startup equity sit as a gotcha. She turned it into leverage with procedure. We subpoenaed the company's corporate records, the cap table history, the investor communications, and the trust documents that showed Linda's role as trustee. We subpoenaed the venture fund that led the recent round, because funding rounds generate paper trails that liars can't fully erase. Caleb's attorney tried to quash the subpoenas, claiming privacy and trade secrets. Marissa's response was simple. We're not asking for secrets, she told the judge. We're asking for ownership and valuation evidence relevant to marital asset division and disclosure obligations. The judge granted enforcement. That's when Caleb's team finally understood that this wasn't just divorce drama. It was discovery with teeth. Caleb started offering solutions again, confidential settlements, mutual non-disparagement, fresh starts. He offered to let me keep the house as if it were his generosity. Marissa's answer stayed the same. No releases that interfere with third-party investigations. Because every time Caleb asked for silence, he admitted he was scared of what would be heard. Then the contempt hearing arrived. Caleb walked in looking smaller, like his suit had lost its power. Linda arrived with her lawyer, lips pressed tight, eyes fixed on the judge like she wanted to challenge him by force of will. Marissa laid out the timeline, the trust creation, disclosed, and signed. The moving truck attempt, the emergency motion, the threats, the forged certification, the hidden startup equity, the backdated trust transfer. Priya testified briefly, clinical and clear. She explained valuation inconsistency, transfer timing, and the mismatch between Caleb's sworn disclosures and the objective record. Then the judge asked Caleb a question, in a tone that sounded almost tired. "Mr. Pierce," he said, "why did you list the asset as no value?" Caleb's attorney tried to speak. The judge held up a hand. "I'm asking him." Caleb swallowed. "I didn't think it counted. It's not liquid." The judge leaned forward. "Not liquid does not mean non-existent." Caleb's face tightened. The judge continued, "And why is your mother listed as trustee holding your interest?" Caleb's eyes flicked to Linda. Linda stared straight ahead, jaw locked. "It was estate planning," Caleb said weakly. Marissa's voice stayed soft. "Estate planning usually happens with disclosure," she said. "Not with concealment timed precisely around a divorce filing." The judge's expression hardened. "Mr. Pierce, you are under oath. Do you understand that hiding assets is a serious matter?" "Yes," Caleb whispered. "Do you understand that forging documents is a serious matter?" Caleb didn't answer fast enough. "Answer," the judge said. "Yes," Caleb said, voice thin. The judge turned to Marissa. "Asset freeze remains," he said. "Sanctions will be considered, and any non-compliance with discovery will result in escalating consequences." Then he looked at Linda. "Ms. Pierce," he said, "as trustee, you are ordered to produce all trust records relevant to this interest. Failure to comply will result in contempt." Linda's eyes tightened. "Understood," she said. But it sounded like a threat, not agreement. After court in the hallway, Linda finally spoke. Quiet, controlled, venomous. "You think you've won," she said. "I didn't raise my voice." "I think the truth is catching up." Linda's nostrils flared. "You're ruining my son." I met her gaze. "Your son used my name to move money. Your son tried to trade my house for my silence." Linda's face twitched like she wanted to slap me, but she couldn't. Not with deputies nearby, not with orders on record. She turned away, and for the first time I saw it. Not power, fear. Because the family's real wealth wasn't just money. It was reputation. And reputation collapses when lies become exhibits. Caleb's attorney tried to block. The judge didn't buy it. "Asset freeze granted," he said. Then, "Contempt hearing scheduled. This court will transmit relevant documentation to appropriate agencies." Caleb's face went gray. Linda's jaw clenched, and for the first time, the family's volume disappeared, replaced by the quiet of panic. In the weeks that followed, they tried to bargain. Confidential mediation, mutual releases, let her keep the house. All offers that had one true goal: silence. Then they tried fear again. Anonymous notes, cars idling nearby, a voicemail hinting at my future. Marissa documented every contact. Reyes documented every contact. Priya kept tracing. The power reversal arrived in a chain, cold, procedural, unstoppable. First, the lender filed formal findings of misrepresentation and suspicious transfer activity tied to Caleb's refinance. Second, my employer cleared me after reviewing counsel's timeline and badge logs, because the narrative was clean and consistent. Third, the court-ordered forensic review confirmed the digital signature anomaly and traced the signature event back to Caleb's laptop and user profile. Metadata, not emotion, not opinion, metadata. Marissa called me with finality in her voice. "We have it," she said. "He can't talk his way out." At the final hearing, Caleb arrived without the expensive suit. His eyes looked hollow, like sleep had abandoned him. The judge reviewed the forensic report, the amended disclosures, the cap table, the trust transfer, and the intimidation record. Then he spoke like a man done with games. "Mr. Pierce," he said, "you failed to disclose material assets, pursued bad faith litigation, attempted to intimidate the opposing party, and evidence indicates you forged a document using Ms. Pierce's signature." Caleb's attorney tried to speak. The judge lifted a hand. "Stop." Silence. The judge continued. "Sanctions are imposed. Ms. Pierce is awarded attorney's fees. The trust suspension remains. Exclusive possession remains with Ms. Pierce. Full turnover of records is ordered, and this court will transmit relevant documentation to appropriate authorities." Caleb's face went blank, like his story had finally run out of words. Then the judge turned to Linda. "Ms. Pierce," he said, "this trust will not be used to conceal marital assets. Noncompliance will result in contempt." Linda's eyes tightened, and for the first time, she looked afraid. Outside the courthouse, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt air, space, like my lungs had been holding their breath for months, and finally exhaled. Reyes called later that week. "I can't discuss details," he said, "but your cooperation clarified the timeline." "Thank you," I replied. He paused. "Most people panic and hide. You did the opposite. That matters." After I hung up, I walked through my house slowly. Same walls, same floors, different feeling. Because fear used to live here like a roommate, always present, always loud. Now it was gone, not because Caleb became kind, but because I stopped carrying his secrets. Caleb texted once more from a new number. "Please, we can fix this. Fix." Like a habit he couldn't quit. I didn't respond. Silence isn't weakness. When silence is backed by evidence, a simple notice arrived weeks later, confirming my status as a cooperating witness and acknowledging receipt of documentation. No drama, just the system doing what it does when the paper trail is real. And I understood the lesson with brutal clarity. People like Caleb don't hide assets because they're smart. They hide assets because they're scared of accountability, and they believe volume can replace truth. They don't try to take your home because they love it. They try to take it because it represents what they can't manufacture: stability, credibility, a clean name. Ownership is quiet. It's reading what you sign. It's documenting what feels small. It's letting the math speak. My ex tried to hide assets, and he tried to hide behind me. But the moment I stopped rescuing him, the moment I stopped absorbing his consequences, his world started collapsing under the weight of its own lies. And I learned that standing your ground doesn't always look like shouting. Sometimes it looks like a calm voice, a locked door, a recorded call, and a binder of documents placed on a courtroom table like a wall. Because when someone tries to take what you built, they're not just taking property. They're testing whether you still believe you deserve to keep your life intact. So stand, even if your voice stays low, even if your hands only shake after the door closes. Because protecting your future isn't greed, it's survival. And survival, done cleanly, becomes power. And I did, every single day after.